Hello. The advantages of budgeting include planning, decision-making, coordination, control, motivation, and if properly designed and effectively managed, then the benefits should be gained. Our focus tonight is on the 2018 budget. Budgeting is a complex and procedural functions of government which guides its developmental plan. Therefore, it requires proper conceptualization and strategies for execution. The budget speech by President Muhammadu Buhari presented an estimate of 9.12 trillion naira tagged budget of consolidation predicated on crude oil benchmark price of $50.50 per barrel. He, however, expressed concerns over the alterations made by the legislators and warned that it could make the budget difficult to implement, noting that cuts made in the allocations to critical projects affected 4,700 of them. Some of the affected projects include Mambila Power Plant, Second Niger Bridge, and ancillary roads, the East-West Road, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Ajokuta Rail Line, and many others. The president also announced the introduction of 6,403 projects by the legislators and argued that some of the projects inserted by lawmakers had been captured in the budgets of most ministries, departments, and agencies of government, while others fall under the purview of states and local governments. Now, the lawmakers have since reacted to this, insisting that the adjustments were made in order to address what they regarded as geographical imbalances. Another matter arising is the perennial problem of delays in the passage of the budget that resulted in the adjustment of the nation's fiscal year. It will be recalled that the 2018 budget was presented to the National Assembly on November 7, 2017, and was finally signed into law in June. That's a 7 months difference. We will dissect this situation and also find out how the executive and legislature could work in harmony to restore the January to December budget cycle. Our guest tonight on the show is Senator Ita Enang, Senior Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly matters with respect to the Senate. My name is Kirian Umayo, and this is Weekend File. The news comes first. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Nouakchott, Mauritania, ahead of the 31st ordinary session of the Heads of Government and of the African Union. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president was received on arrival by President Mohamed Abdulaziz of Mauritania.
President Muhammadu Buhari, accompanied by Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura of Nasarawa State and Godin Obeseki of Edo State, arrived Omotunsi International Airport, Nouakchott, at about 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon local time. He was given a befitting welcome by a high-powered Mauritanian government delegation as well as that of the African Union. Also on hand to receive him were the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Justice and Education, the National Security Advisor, Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Acting Chairman of the EFCC Ibrahim Magu, and other senior government officials. During the 3-day visit, President Buhari is expected to join his counterparts from across the continent to discuss issues of common interest. Amongst them, peace and security, HIV/AIDS, regional cooperation, climate change, as well as challenges of socio-economic development. Specifically, in line with the theme of the year, winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation, the president, as continental champion in the crusade, is billed to address the African leaders on the journey so far.
There is no way you can fight the anti-corruption war just like the insecurity war alone. Because when resources are moved from your country, they are moved to other countries. Before you can repatriate those resources, those countries will have to collaborate and cooperate with you. So President Buhari is going to be telling them on why African countries will need to collaborate to ensure that resources are not looted from their respective countries.
How significant is that to the fight against corruption in Nigeria?
Very, very significant, because the world is structured in a way that no country can do anything alone. Is it the insecurity battle? You can fight it alone. Is it the anti-corruption war? You can fight it alone. Therefore, he is going to charge African leaders on the need for collaboration and teamwork in the anti-corruption war. And he is also going to have to encourage other African leaders to see corruption as an evil. If you don't fight corruption, how do you get resources for development? So he's going to also challenge African leaders to be alive to the anti-corruption war.
On the margins of the summit, President Buhari and other African leaders are scheduled to interact with President Emmanuel Macron of France on financing the AU-led peace support operations authorized by the United Nations Security Council. From Nouakchott, Mauritania, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Nigeria and South Africa are working on new strategies to put an end to xenophobic attacks on Nigerians living in South Africa. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyeama met with the South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation on the sidelines of the 31st African Union Summit in Nouakchott, Mauritania. Foreign Desk Correspondent Makut Simon Macham reports.
Xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in South Africa have been reported in recent times, resulting in the loss of lives and property. This meeting between Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyeama and his South African counterpart Lindiwe Sisulu is to strengthen earlier initiatives aimed at solving the problem.
Quite a large number of Nigerians have been killed. Some, it would appear, also by the law enforcement agencies. Now, we've always been of the opinion, and we've made that very clear, that we have excellent relations with the South African government, and that the South African government is willing to work with us to find a solution to this situation.
We as South Africans owe a great deal of gratitude to people who harbored us when we were in struggle, and a number of our eminent persons lived in Nigeria, went to school in Nigeria, assisted by ordinary Nigerian citizens. And we are where we are now because of the support that we received from African countries, in particular Nigeria. And we would not want to find ourselves in a situation where Nigerians feel unhappy or insecure or targeted in our country.
The two ministers pledged to work together and ensure that these xenophobic attacks are stopped in order to ensure that the citizens of both countries enjoy good relations. In Nouakchott, Mauritania, Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has conveyed the condolence of President Muhammadu Buhari to the government and people of Lagos State over the tragic tanker incident that occurred on Otedola Bridge that claimed 9 lives. Nosa Oshola reports.
The Vice President, who addressed State House correspondents shortly after a closed-door meeting with Governor Akinwumi Ambode, said President Muhammadu Buhari had delegated him to visit the state to commiserate with the people of Lagos on the unfortunate incidents.
It's a very terrible thing indeed, and all of us were deeply saddened by it. Before Mr. President left, he asked me to express his sincere condolences to His Excellency and also to the people of the state. It's a very deeply saddening event, and we pray that this sort of thing will never repeat itself. And we also hope that all of those who have suffered injury will recover soon, and we pray for comfort for those who lost their loved ones.
In his response, Governor Ambode thanked the Vice President for finding time to visit to condole with the people of the state in this moment of grief, saying that it was a testament to the fact that the federal government was deeply concerned about the safety of lives and property of residents in the state.
We just want to say a very big thank you to Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari. They feel so strongly that this kind of incident is not what should be occurring in this time in Lagos.
In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
Public servants, particularly financial managers, have been challenged to embrace accountability and shun corrupt tendencies that affect the nation's body politic. Minister of State for Labor and Productivity, Professor Stephen Ekani Ocheni, gave the challenge while delivering a lecture on accounting for public funds, the Leviathan of government bureaucracy at the Kogi State University. Correspondent Francis Udoja has that report.
Professor Ocheni, who took his audience through various accounting reforms embarked upon by the present administration, commended the federal government for the single treasury policy, which he said has ensured transparency, fight against corruption, and overall accountability in public finance.
The ability to convince members of the public, who are the real owners of this public fund, that you have utilized the available resources at your disposal as a public officer for the good of the general public is what we refer to as accountability.
Professor Ocheni also stressed the need for government to ensure comprehensive coverage of the TSA by involving all tiers of government to make it all-encompassing. From Lokoja, Francis Udojo, NTA News.
The Odukmani-Itu-Ikotepene Road in Akwa Ibom State is one of the projects recently awarded by the federal government. Miriam Vincent Oko, who visited the area, reports that work has already commenced on the road, expected to be delivered by November 2020.
The Odukmani-Itu-Ikotepene Road in Akwa Ibom and Cross River State has been in the news for years, arising from the rate of accidents and loss of lives along that route owing to the deplorable state of the road. With the site already handed over to the contractors Julius Berger PLC, activities described as preparations for the actual construction have begun. According to them, the area being fixed is the failed portion, which can easily cut off in the rainy season and disrupt construction flow. The road, which is a major artery linking the south-south region to other parts of Nigeria, is known to witness high traffic volume.
If you have a single carriageway and the traffic volume is much, there will be conflict in traffic and then it will result in accidents. But if you add an additional lane, the traffic that is going to Calabar, for instance, will take one lane. The one that is going to Ikotepene Aba will take another lane, and there will not be any conflict.
The respondents who spoke with NTA News recall the pains of traveling on this route.
It has been a blind spot, in fact a dead point. We even divert sometimes through Uyo to IK just because of this, and it's a very short distance to get to Ikotepene. I love what the federal government have done so far.
What we expected for years to be, I think, is going on now. So I congratulate federal government to do more so that the work will proceed from here to Abia State.
The road, when completed, will not only facilitate the ease of movement, but also that of doing business within the South-South region and beyond. In Uyo, Marian Vincent Oko, NTA News.
Close to 100,000 Nigerian refugees living in Cameroon are to be repatriated home following a tripartite agreement between the two countries and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Hadiza Najatu Tijani reports from Minawayo camp in Cameroon.
Homeless but not helpless, as the government and people of Cameroon host these Nigerian refugees with support from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Forced by insurgency to flee to our neighbor, many of them have been in Minawayo camp for 5 years. 50-year-old Fatari, grandmother of 6, says she was forced to flee after she lost her eldest son in an attack on their village in Borno. There are 50,075 individuals living in Minawao camp. Many of these refugees have indicated an interest in returning, as demonstrated by the warm welcome the Nigerian delegation received. Despite this excitement, many of these refugees have expressed concern about security and the quality of education their children will receive back home. But the federal government of Nigeria has given assurance of cooperating with the UNHCR and Cameroon to ensure the repatriation adheres to strict humanitarian standards.
There must be plans in place before we start moving there, and the refugees have to indicate interest that they want to go back home. They've started registering them. We're starting with Adama as our pilot scheme, and once we are done with Adama, we'll move into Borno. And this is just some food items and relief materials that we brought on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria as well as the government of Borno and Adama State.
Food and gifts notwithstanding, Fatari says she would rather be self-reliant and longs to return to her former life as a subsistence farmer back home in Borno, where the government says it is preparing to welcome them back. In Minawao, Cameroon, Hadiza Naja'atu Tijani.
Thank you, Hadiza. Now, the success of most economies across the globe had been attributed to the effective use of the budget instrument in stimulating growth and development. As the 2018 budget is that of consolidation, we are taking a critical look at the budget and the vagaries of its implementation. And up ahead are reports from our correspondents across the nation. Keep it here with us. We'll be right back.
A famous boxer once said, "The fight is won once you step into the ring." It takes massive investment, dedication, never backing down. In 2005, Glo invested in the world's only privately owned undersea data cable, then connected this to its extensive fiber optic network throughout Nigeria, delivering flexible and affordable data and generous airtime bonuses for everyone. You see, it's not what you step into the ring with that makes you the master. It's everything you did to get you there. Glo Yakata. Get up to 6 gigabytes free data every month for 6 months and 2,200 Naira bonus for every 100 Naira recharge to call all networks where talkers and browsers live. The largest data network, Glo, Grandmasters of Data.
A beautiful life and a great future is possible. Stand with Standards Organization of Nigeria. Avoid substandard products, electrical appliances with damaging effects, tires without DOT number, stuffed and rusty edges. They can cause accidents. 12.5 kg LPG cylinders used as camp gas is a disaster waiting to happen. Substandard cables can cause inferno. Other substandard products to avoid include batteries, electrical bulbs, iron rods, pressing iron, brake pads. They will only endanger our today and future. Join hands with SON in ridding our country of substandard products. Don't buy or sell substandard products. See something? Say something. Call these numbers. Standards Organization of Nigeria. Improving life through standards.
The leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Enugu North Senatorial District most respectfully invites all our esteemed party leaders and members, teaming supporters and well-wishers to the Zonu Mega Rally of our great party in honor of our illustrious son and the performing governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Right Honorable Dr. Ifeanyi Lawrence Ugwuanyi Gburugburu, as follows. Date, Sunday 1st July 2018. Venue, Government Field, Nsukka. Time, 10 a.m. Come, let's celebrate peace and good governance in Enugu State as exemplified by our action governor who has done us proud. Enugu State is truly in the hands of God. Signed, Right Honorable Nze Michael Onyeze, Zonu Chairman, PDP Enugu North Senatorial District. Right Honorable Princess Stella Ngu, Chairman Central Planning Committee, and Dr. Christian Iyani, Chairman Sub-Publicity Committee.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
The House Committee on Sports cordially invite all stakeholders in the sports sector and sports enthusiasts to a two-day National Sports Summit with the theme Growing Nigeria's Sports from Grassroots to Championship, Excellence and Sustainable Development, under the distinguished chairmanship of Governor Akinwumi Ambode, Governor of Lagos State, Co-Chairman Barrister Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State, Special Guest of Honor Barrister Solomon Dalu, Honorable Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Chief Host and Keynote Speaker Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, Speaker House of Representatives, Co-Host Alhaji Mohammed Bello, Honorable Minister of FCT, Royal Father of the occasion, His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, Emir of Kano, Fathers of the Day, General Yakubu Gowon retired, Ibrahim Gaidam, Governor of Yobe State, Oba Otudepo, Mother of the Day, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, Wife of the President, date 23rd and 24th July 2018, venue Nikon Luxury Hotel Abuja, time 9 a.m. daily. Other important guests include NOC President, President Sports Federation, State Commissioners of Sports, State Directors of Sports and Directors of Sports in ministries, departments and agencies. Resource persons, Professor Sherwin Omotayo, Michelle Obi, William Babatunde Fowler, Executive Chairman FIRS, Professor Ebenezer Morakinio, Dr. Al-Hassan Yakut, Short Talk, Shagun Odebami, Angelo Peter Elosia, Amaju Pinnick, Professor Nibath Tanglang, Discussant Dr. Amos Adamu, Dr. Patrick AKG, Dr. Ademola Are, Director Grassroots, Aisha Folade. For more information, please contact Okeyinka Matthew, Global Sports Consult on 081-855-22268. 0805-238-3336. Suleiman Fatai, Clerk, House Committee on Sports on 0806-7713-438. 0818-556-8873. This advert is proudly supported by NTA, Africa's largest TV network. Announcer, Honorable Guni Bukarlawan, Chairman, House Committee on Sports.
You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. About 2 weeks after the signing of the 2018 budget by President Muhammadu Buhari, concerns he raised on what he called significant reduction in the allocations made for critical projects, as well as provisions made for others, contrary to the philosophy and direction of the administration. Adamu Sambo tells us more.
Muhammadu Buhari performing a constitutional duty long awaited by Nigerians in order to avoid a government shutdown. In doing so, however, the Nigerian leader was full of regrets and lamentations. He said the intention of his administration to use the 2018 appropriation bill to consolidate the achievements of previous budgets and deliver on the economic recovery and growth plan has not been given much regard with the changes made to the nation's financial document by the National Assembly.
The National Assembly made cuts amounting to 347 billion naira in the allocation to 4,700 projects submitted to them for consideration and introduced 6,403 projects of their own amounting to 578 billion naira. Many of the projects cut are critical and may be difficult, if not impossible, to implement with the reduced allocation. Some of the new projects inserted by the National Assembly have not been properly conceptualized, designed, and costed, and will therefore be difficult to execute. Furthermore, many of these new projects introduced by the National Assembly have been added to the budgets of most ministries, departments, and agencies with no consideration for institutional capacity to execute them or the incremental recurrent expenditure that may be required.
The president enumerated the projects from which cuts were made to include Mambila Power Project, Second Niger Bridge Ancillary Roads, East-West and Boni-Bodo Roads, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Itakwe-Ajakuta Rail Project, as well as ongoing critical infrastructure projects in the FCT, especially arterial roads. The 9.12 trillion naira 2018 budget of consolidation, the largest in the nation's history, is predicated on oil benchmark of $51 per barrel, a production of 2.3 million barrels per day, as well as an exchange rate of 305 naira to a dollar. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA.
Thank you indeed, Adamu. Now, mixed reactions have continued to trail the cut in budgetary allocation for the completion of the Akanu-Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, from 2 billion naira to 500 million naira. Chiegonu Aro reports.
Opinions trailed the recent cut in the 2018 budgetary allocation for the Akanu-Ibiam International Airport from 2 billion naira to 500 million naira.
Because if this international terminal had been completed this year, the economic activity of the Southeast would have been boosted up. Because that means more airlines, that means more people traveling, that means more exchange rates.
The reactions are based on the international terminal, which is still under construction. The project is, according to the airport manager, 65% completion.
Claiming about 1.7 billion is on the air, and the job has not been executed. That's why I'm saying that every element of politicking in this matter should be removed. Happily, the Deputy Senate President has said that he worked with members of the Southeast Caucus in the National Assembly to ensure that the matter is reversed and addressed.
If you know what Mursa Mohammed is doing in Lagos or Nnamdi Azikiwe in Abuja, that's what we expect to be, so people can take off from here and go to Europe.
Akanu-Ibiam Airport, situated on the only coal belt in Nigeria, was commissioned in October 1976.
All right, moving ahead now, work continues on the reconstruction of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in spite of the funding challenges the project has encountered. Dutu Oguyemi reports that the federal government has been creative in sustaining the funding of the project.
Warri 276-kilometer standard gauge, otherwise called Central Railway Line, was initially planned to be delivered to Nigerians in 5 years. It was meant to transport iron ore from Itakwe mine to Ajakuta and Delta Steel plant and coal from Warri to Ajakuta. The initiative by government to resuscitate the project was therefore heartwarming. However, the cuts in the 2018 budget is creating anxiety among stakeholders in Lokoja.
Once there's a cut like we have now, which is very, very colossal, it's going to affect the implementation phases. And once it's affected, a lot of things might set in by way of cost variation, right, by way of externalities that we don't expect. Because for every project that is planning stage, there's implementation stage, and there's execution stage. I expect that if you cannot upscale the allocation to that project, then you do not do well by reducing it.
This is and so that can generate employment, can improve the economy above Nigeria, in the African continent. So why are we not making it a priority? So for them to have done that, federal government, the presidency should send back supplementary budget to be able to cover up some of the area that they have sliced.
When completed, the line will have capacity for 4 trains of 32 wagons in its first phase and eventually increase to 8 of 64 wagons.
We have 71 Mambila wagons which we use in that operation. Out of that 71, we have 42 here in Itakwe, 2 at Ajakuta, and 22 at Abo.
You can see the huge investments the federal government has established here. So our job here is to maintain the facilities to avoid further deterioration.
The project, which was abandoned in 1987, would have been the first standard gauge in Africa. Charles Alpha for Weekend File.
Charles Asfa's report on Itakwe-Ajakuta-Warri rail line, one of the ambitions of the current administration. Now let's take you back to that of Lagos and hear from Dotu Oguyemi.
The sights and sounds of a variety of machines at work on various sections of the Lagos-Ibadan provides assurance that the reconstruction project is still in progress. After the controversies and delays of the past, reconstruction work picked up some speed under the present administration, and the project has attained critical milestones. The scope of work entails the reconstruction of two sections of the 127.6 kilometers expressway. Section 1 runs from Lagos to Shagamu Interchange, while Section 2 extends from Shagamu Interchange to Ibadan.
Hopefully, in another 1 year, Julius Baja Section 1, whose contract has been augmented, as well as the RCC Section 2, are likely to complete that road.
This in the face of this, that eyebrows were raised over reports that the budgetary allocation to the project for 2018 had been reduced from 31 billion to 10 billion naira. The Controller of Works, Lagos State, however, says this will not hold up work.
Government has also provided special funding for some major roads, of which Lagos-Ibadan is one, which is supposed to be funded from the NSIA, funds.
The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is a critical national asset because of its strategic importance to the national economy. About 25,000 vehicles reportedly ply the road every day, making it virtually the busiest road in Nigeria. The reconstruction work has not held up the flow of traffic.
This road, you don't take too much. Make an airport, then do the road finish, sharp.
The government has promised that there will be no funding problem as far as these critical roads are concerned.
The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway was constructed about 40 years ago, and the reconstruction project was initiated in 2013. In Lagos, Dotun Oguyemi, NTA News.
Now, stakeholders in Taraba State have called on the federal government to ensure adequate funding for the construction of Mambila hydro power project. They say the diversification policy of the Nigerian economy can only gain grounds with available power supply for industries to thrive. And now let's join Joseph Otom for the reports.
That some of the projected budgets for capital projects were slashed down by the National Assembly. Stakeholders are warning against toying with funding of important projects like the Mambila hydropower plant, saying inadequate funding might slow the pace of work and affect quality.
A lot of field work has been done, and the federal government has been advised this is the actual amount that power supply will go. And if there's any shortage, that aspect will be affected. And I think the federal government must find an alternative to synergize with the National Assembly so that at least a supplementary budget be submitted.
Nigeria is lagging behind when it comes to electricity generation and distribution. So we believe it is time for us now to ensure that we prioritize our projects, and Mambila Plateau project should be one of the first so that we can have enough power to power the country and power our industries.
Bridging the huge gap in the energy sector with the 350 megawatts of electricity, the stakeholders say will streamline great opportunities for all scale of investments and create more jobs.
Even the artisans, the technicians, people who go into welding and what have you, they rely on electricity.
But the labor market is so saturated, and we believe this is a project that is going to bring quite a lot of jobs. And people from Taraba should be considered first, as I've said. And other people from all over the country are coming down to have a lot to do on this project.
The contract for the construction of the Mambila hydropower project was signed in 2017, and it is expected to be completed in 6 years. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound O10, NTA News.
And of course, the Bonu Road constructed by the federal government in Rivers State will suffer a major setback, resulting from the cut of the National Assembly on the 2018 allocation. Now, let's join Emmanuel Lene from Port Harcourt.
To Rivers people is the ongoing construction on the Bonu Road and the desire of the Niger Delta region for the completion of the East-West Road.
The link between Bodo and Ogoni
opens and brings a lot of development challenges to the Ogoni people, and it is very crucial and critical that these projects are delivered to Ogoni people.
Roads are very, very important. Roads are also to save lives. Roads are also to save property. If the road was good, most of the tankers that fail on the way lost the product, lost the truck, lost our members. It wouldn't have happened. We feel that they were not sensitive to the issue of cutting down mostly a very sensitive area of the road. We condemn it, and we have raised a protest letter.
They allocated these funds. So cutting down means that those funds are allocated to some sectors for development purposes. Will not be enough again to develop those infrastructures.
As far as I'm concerned, for us to see and actualize the road, they should allow NLNG to take up the total construction of the road with tax rebate. That is what is being done. And that's what concerns me. Because if we leave it in the hands of government, we know how much are they going to release out of their own counterpart funding.
The budget cut, stakeholders noted, would constitute a major setback to the implementation and completion of the projects, hence the need for a reappraisal of the development to avoid untoward reactions from the people, while urging the executive and the legislature to avoid a reoccurrence. In Port Harcourt, Emmanuel Lene, NTA News.
And that's our correspondence reports for today on Weekend File. And of course, up ahead is the conversation segment, and our guest is the Senior Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters.
See patients who come to me suffering from infectious diseases caused by germs, from typhoid to diarrhea, flu, cough. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily when we use the toilet, from our door handles, from other surfaces, we transfer to others without realizing. That is why we recommend Dettol Antiseptic Liquid. Protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils. Strepsils. Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Helen!
Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X.
Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack. Winning in hot and dry conditions is hard. Causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another. What keeps you so cool, man? Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
When I was young, I lost my parents, and then I have to drop out from school 1981. Start to learn about trading. I started my own 1988, training with Nestle, and the last 20 years, the business have grown. Where we start, it's just a shop, but today, see where we are, as one of the biggest distributors. Not only in Nigeria, not only in SeaWorld, but I believe in Africa. The focus of this company is to give back to people, because we know where we started. I believe in Nestle. I believe in hard work. My name is Christian Emenike Ude.
Nestle, good food, good life.
When you think about hospitality and affordable luxury away from home, then you talk about Sharon Ultimate Hotels, a secured and serene environment that offers kingly services such as 24-hour room service, impeccable security with CCTV surveillance, parking lots, free Wi-Fi internet service, free complimentary breakfast, restaurants that offers continental and local dishes, well-equipped fitness center with instructors, swimming pool, 350 capacity multipurpose hall, laundry service, pastry corner, mini mart, and our suites are breathtaking. For reservation, locate us at plot 1710 Tafawa Balewa Way, Area 3, Garikia, Abuja. Sharon Ultimate Hotels, the ultimate place.
Give me the value pack. Helen!
You do great value shopping.
Absolutely. I'm a champion at getting value.
Then you must have bought the Hapic 200 ml.
Why Hapic when I have
this? Even after applying them 10 times, they won't give a sparkling clean toilet.
Impossible.
Challenge. Detergent and bleach can't give a sparkling clean toilet even after 10 times. But Hapic 200 ml gives a sparkling clean toilet at one go.
Wow.
Hapic 200 ml. Real deal. Now only 200 naira.
And you're welcome back. Joining me now in the studio is the senior special assistant and liaison officer to the president on National Assembly matters, Senator Itai Enang. Senator, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much.
Now, the reality on the ground is that 2018 budget has been drastically, or rather significantly, reduced by the National Assembly. How does the government intend to cushion the effect of these cuts?
Well, the government intends, the executive intends to not allow the cut to stop the implementation, but to find ingenious ways of executing, of making sure these projects are executed. You know, the observations of Mr. President were that were not that the projects were removed. It was that the allocations to it were cut. So it means that there are still funds in the project, in the budget for the project. So they will continue the implementation, and in the course of the year, Mr. President has indicated that he will bring supplementary or budget amendment or appropriation amendment bill or even viament to make sure that those projects which the funding were reduced are properly funded, either by way of increase or something. And then again, we also intend that the National Assembly did issue a response. We intend to sit before we make the, before Mr. President submits the amendment or supplementary. Instead, that the executive and the legislature should sit on each of the projects and items and then agree, because this is not with the way normally Mr. President directs, that there should be consultations between the committees and the ministers, the leadership of the National Assembly and the executive, so that when we present the proposed amendment or increase in the budget for this project, it will be agreed to. But in summary, the project will be going on because there is fund to start. And some of them that are new projects, there will be enough fund to award and mobilize. Some of them that are ongoing projects, when the certificates are generated and IPC submitted, they will be paid, and the National Assembly will know that it has been paid, and then this is how much the contractor now needs to continue.
Now, from all indications, you are talking about funding now, because if the government says that these projects which are critical should continue, now how does the government source funding? How is it going to rely only on a supplementary budget?
Mr. President had directed that every step that should be made towards realizing the funding for the project should be commenced immediately. You know, this is a deficit budget, and a great part of the money is going to be realized from the market. A few of them, much of them is also going to be realized from external borrowing. First, we will have to bring Mr. President will lay before the National Assembly the request for borrowing, and that will be approved, and we're trying to work in such a manner that Mr. President lays the request, and the National Assembly considers it and pass it before they proceed on the long vacation. Then for those ones that we We had other sources of funding, like the money from the Federation account, which comes from customs, inland revenue, oil. Those ones may be there. So we fund those projects that are there. You know, so this is how we intend the budget, and the law has directed the raising of the money to fund the budget.
Now, Nigerians have always talked about the looted funds that have been recovered and so on. Where does that go? You know, where is the government going to fix the looted funds?
Now, the looted funds, okay, what you've called the looted fund, but what we call in the budget, in the appropriation night, is called recovered funds. Like the money that has been recovered from the Swiss. I understand that one has, by agreement, been state specific. Every money that is recovered is already captured in the budget as part of the item that will part of the funding item that will be used in funding the budget. So it is not that whenever any money is recovered, there is a bag in which it is kept and it is there already. When you talk of oil funding the budget, you talk of money from oil, money from customs, money from inland revenue service, money from solid mineral. You also talk of recovered funds. You talk of sale of government assets. You know, all those are part of which the law requires that immediately you have it, you pay it into the treasury, and it is used in funding the budget. It is not that it is kept differently.
Okay, now let's talk about this very critical issue. Delay in the passage of a budget is believed to be, in some quarters, to be one of the reasons for non-completion of projects or moving forward a project to the next year's budget. Now, the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 made it clear that government should present its budget to National Assembly by September. Yeah. Now, this year's budget was actually submitted to the National Assembly on the November 7, 2017, and was signed into law in June, meaning a 7 months difference. Now, how can this delay, be eliminated?
Mr. President has been very anxious in eliminating the delay. First, the law provides that the Fiscal Responsibility Act provides that the budget should be laid by September. But that Fiscal Responsibility Act provides that they should be laid before the National Assembly the medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper. And it is the medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper that, when approved by the National Assembly, it will state what will be the benchmark, what will be the benchmark oil price, how much are we intending to realize. It will also state what will be the level of deficit funding of the budget, and what are the different sources of funding. That is medium-term expenditure framework. And you use the two previous years and make it this a third year. Now, Mr. President laid this before the National Assembly, and it is unless and until the National Assembly passes it and for you, that is what you use the template to prepare your budget. So sometimes it becomes, because of the delay in considering and passing the medium-term expenditure framework, that also affects the time that the President or the executive lays. But what we've done this year, what Mr. President has directed, is that in the next very few days, all that is needed to make sure to kickstart the process of 2018-2019 budget should be made ready by the preparation and laying before the National Assembly of the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, to make it possible for the National Assembly to approve in time, so that before they proceed, so that it can be used in preparing the budget, so that it can be presented about September, October as the National Assembly returns.
Now, in your opinion, how can the executive and legislature come together harmoniously to actually address those amendments towards the completion of the laudable projects on infrastructure across the country?
What we're doing and how we're coming together is that the ministries and the ministers and the heads of departments, ministries and agencies will meet first with the chairman of the respective committees, found out the issues. There were also responses that were given by the Senate and House of Representatives on the issues. They will meet and examine it, and then they will all come together, and at the end of it, they will tidy up what are the areas of differences and what are the possible areas of increase or decrease, and then they will present it to the leadership The leadership will meet with the leadership of the executive, and at the end of it, Mr. President will forward a letter forwarding to the legislature what is, at least to a large extent, consensually agreed, because the executive will not want to present something what is not just on its own side, but it will consult the legislature and the legislators first before having a document that is, we front load what we want to give before we actually submit.
Oh, now, what are the highlights, major highlights of this budget, do you think?
The major highlights are the allocations to the various ministries. If you look at the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, it has allocation of 682 billion. The Niger Delta Development Commission has a very large amount of money, and it was even able to have an additional 30 billion to pay the outstanding debt. You have Ministry of Works, Power. You have the Ministry of Water Resources, a lot of projects. You have the the Northeast Development Commission intervention, about 45 billion. And in fact, if I can just give you a few of them.
Just a few seconds,
just few. Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Agriculture has 149 billion. Ministry of Transportation has 251 billion. Then Ministry of Water Resources has 147 billion. Ministry of Defense has 157 billion, and a great lot of it. Then if you look at areas like the zonal intervention project, there is also the 100 billion provision. Then there is a special federal government intervention program for capital. It is 150 billion. So with all these and a lot in every sector to implement, we are not likely to have a lull in the implementation. All we're trying to work on is having so much, being able to generate the funds we need to implement, because it's not that the fund is there, but we're optimistic we'll have the funds to implement. Thank you very much.
That's also an estimation. We'd like to thank you at this point, for sharing your thoughts on this matter with many Nigerians. Thank you indeed. And I have been speaking with Senator Eta Enai, who happens to be the Senior Special Assistant and Liaison Officer to the President on National Assembly matters. Thank you once again for
coming. Thank you very much.
Sports and weather.
Thank you very much.
Will be next.
I see patients who come to me suffering from infectious diseases caused by germs, from typhoid to diarrhea, flu, cough. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily when we use the toilet, from our door handles, from other surfaces. We transfer to others without realizing. That is why we recommend Dettol Antiseptic Liquid. Protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three put
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah? I was
welcome, sir. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It will boost our economy and will give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Winning in hot and dry conditions is hard. Causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
Now, the second armed forces and security agencies half marathon held in Abuja on Saturday morning, with the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps retaining their title won last year. Uche Mbede reports.
11 security